That's better. Because it's a little blurry on mine. Thank you, Youngster Kang. I appreciate it, brother. Super blurry on my side. So I've been waiting all day to crack this thing open. It looks like there's a handful of you guys in here, so I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. Omega Comics, thank you, bud. I appreciate it. So I actually wasn't looking for this book, but a guy on Instagram actually reached out to me after I made a comment on his post about how nice the book looked. Reached out to me and he offered me a decent price on this thing, so I decided to go ahead and snag it. It's one of those books, Broke Cause of Comics. How you doing, bud? It's one of those comics that you kind of want. It's kind of on the list, but not really on the list. But because of the price that he was offering, I decided to go ahead and get it. It's Peanuts. Just not a fan. Not a fan of Peanuts. Not in any way, shape, or form. 720. Okay, cool. So see if I can get this thing out of here without making a mess of everything. All right, so far so good. Only lost one. Two Peanuts. Clean this up real quick. So I give you guys a couple of hints. Gorilla, how you doing, brother? DS Comics, how you doing, bud? They stick to everything. They stick to everything and they float everywhere. It's a mess. Then the problem is my kids also get them. If I don't clean it up right away, my kids will get it and there'll be peanuts just everywhere. Same thing with the bubble wrap. So this is a book, again, that I kind of picked up because saw it on Instagram, made a comment on it. I was like, hey, nice book. A few moments later, a guy sends me a message. He says, hey, because it's you, I'm going to offer you a better price on the book versus what he was offering everyone else. And it was a book that, again, that's kind of like on the list, but not really on the list. And then when he told me the price privately, I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and pick this book up while it's here. It's in front of me. Let's just go ahead and snag it. So, oh man, water on books. That's not cool. Not cool at all. But I give you guys a hint. See if anybody can guess this. Generally speaking, in my mind, it's one of those books that you have to get all three to kind of make it make sense. You can't just get one. There is one of the three that is more significant than the others, but all three essentially are what you need because it tells the complete story arc. So some of you may be able to get it. I'm not quite certain. We'll see. Oh, it was raining. Yeah, man. That is the worst. That's actually one of my fears about sometimes because I mail out a lot of books and I use the Gemini mailers to do so, but I don't always completely wrap the book in tape to kind of seal it up. And one of my fears is one day it'll be a heavy rain wherever I'm sending the book and there'll be some infiltration and the book will get ruined. I may try to start doing something a little bit different because the last thing I want is for that fear to come to life and someone's book to be ruined because I could have taken an extra 5 minutes to wrap the book up with tape. So very DS Comics, very good guess, brother. Very good guess. I actually have 2 sets of that story arc. There was a guess here that it was Amazing Spider-Man 361 through 363. I have a couple of sets of that, so no, it is not that one. I would not buy that one. No, it is not ASM 15 or AF 15 either. A Ziploc baggie is not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. I've seen some guys get the oversized the oversized magazine bag, and they kind of drop them in there. ASM 270. So it's a pretty nice book. It's a pretty nice book. See, I'm gonna take this out. I put up a video earlier today, and I realized that as I was watching the video back, I realized that it was, you could actually see what the book was before I actually showed the book. So I'm trying to be a little bit more careful this time. But it's the first time I've actually held this book. It's actually pretty slick. It's an old CGC case, so it's a little flimsy, a little scratched up. You can tell that this book has changed hands probably a couple of times because they've not been the most careful with it. You know, I always leave my slacked books in the plastic, but Thor 337 through 339, no, it is not that story arc. No, it's not that one either. So I'll show it to you guys, and I'm gonna cover the grade up. Cream to off-white pages, not the best, but again, for the price that I paid, you can't be too upset. But so, oh, you got a heck of a glare. There's an incredible delay on my side. Sorry about that. So hopefully you guys can see it. I'll put it back up. Maybe you can see it without the glare here. That's not it. That's not any better. I need to find the right angle. Gorilla, you are hilarious. That raw dog. I was wondering who's going to be the first one to pick up on that little joke that I slipped in there. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, I dropped some adult humor into a post that I put up the other day, and only one person commented on it. Somebody else may have seen it, but no one said anything. But Gorilla. So nice guess. Someone gave a guess here. It is the full Galacticus appearance. Yeah, it kind of fits with what we were talking about just the other day, DS Comics. And Omega Comics has a guess that it's a 5.0. Someone else, Rowan, is it Rowan? Has a guess that it's somewhere between a 3 and a 9. Is that what I'm reading? Comics with Bueller, how you doing, brother? Gorilla gave a guess of a 7.0. Got 2, 3, 3. Yeah, nice. Who is that? Broke Cause of Comics, brother. I wish it was a 10. I keep hearing about all these wonderful unicorns of 10s online, and a few people have tagged me on Instagram where they found a 10. I don't believe that a 10 exists until I have it in my collection. That's not true. That's not true. But Bueller, how you doing, brother? Youngster Kane got a 9.2 grade. It is actually not a bad grade, and I'll show you guys in a second. I want to see if I can get the angle right on this thing to be able to show you guys this book. But it is not a bad looking. There we go. Finally got the angle right. It is not a bad looking book. There are definitely some visual imperfections that you can see, especially on the spine, especially around the staples. It is definitely not a perfect book, but it is a pretty solid book, of course, by Stan Lee, and then also drawn by Jack Kirby. But it's a pretty slick one. So here is the grade. Definitely happy with that. Got a 6.0 guess. Let's see if you guys can see that. It is actually a 7.5, so it's not too bad. Definitely not too bad. Yeah, Omega Comics is making a comment here that the money to be made is definitely in the mid-grade comics. You know, I would agree with that. And RB3 does these wonderful analyses where he kind of looks at what's the best return on one's investment for a book, and oftentimes it is that mid-grade that has the best return on investment. But one of the things that I kind of think about is, you know, it depends on what you paid to get in the book, and that I think will determine what you get out of the book. And so if you own some of these books or you purchase them at cover price, then your return on investment is staggering versus if you get that same book now and have to pay a higher price point to get into it. So I think a little bit has to do with the entry point into that book. Exactly. I think it's Tech 31 Kid. Exactly. It's the same point that I'm making. If you spend a tremendous amount on a book, then yeah, it takes a while to recoup that money. But if you bought it off the rack, or if you bought it in a collection as part of a larger deal, then your return on investment is pretty solid. Yeah, agree with that. So I think it was Gorilla. Yeah, Gorilla, you were definitely close. I think you had a 7 and it came back at a 7.5. So definitely a book that I'm pretty pleased with. But as you guys know, you want to get 48, right? And you also want to get 50. That is the story arc. I actually read that story arc. It was probably 3 months ago and really enjoyed the story arc. I had an opportunity several months ago to get Fantastic 450, decided to pass on it. It was a raw copy, wasn't in the greatest shape, and I kind of passed on it with the hope that I'd be able to get 48 and 49 and then eventually 50, kind of in that order. But again, this book kind of stumbled into my lap, and so I had to kind of take advantage of it. But as you guys know, this is the first full appearance of Galacticus, the second appearance of the Silver Surfer. And so it is, of course, the first time that the two of them appear on the cover together. And then I think Silver Surfer is then on the cover of 50. And that's an amazing cover by Jack Kirby. That 50 cover, I think it's like brown. It is a really, really nice, iconic cover that, again, I hope to be able to get one day. Not really kicking myself for passing on it before. It wasn't the right deal, wasn't the right book for me. So I think that is worth about 4,500 right now, something along those lines. I do believe, yeah, I do believe that is correct. Yep, I think Tech 31 Kid. I think you're right. I mean, I think that's part of why the return on investment is so good for the lower grade book, is because there's more people that can afford the lower grade book. I mean, I talked to two guys today that are actively trying to get Hulk #1. And I think both of them are looking for like 1.8s of Hulk #1. And they're selling some decent keys in order to get that low grade Hulk that low grade 1.8 Hulk, because they can't afford a higher grade, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, heck, if I could do it, I would get a 1.8 to have in my collection of Incredible Hulk #1. So I think there's definitely something to that. Pre 71. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the older books. I mean, I have, what was it, the first, the Fantastic Four. I think I have the one where him makes his appearance. But yeah, I have a lot of the older books. I actually went through some of my short boxes today, specifically like Amazing Spider-Man and some of my old Avengers books, just trying to see what kind of inventory I had on hand. But definitely a fan of some of those older books. And DS Comics is making a comment here that Fantastic Four 49 and 50 are both undervalued. I would completely agree with that. You know, it's interesting in this case, and I was thinking about it, that Fantastic Four 48 goes for what it goes, but the full appearance of Galactus actually is lower value than his first appearance. And I was trying to think that in most cases, that's not the case. In most cases, the first full appearance is more valuable than the first appearance. And so I don't quite know why that's the case with this particular book, but I just find it kind of interesting. Thank you, brother. First Watcher, I'd like to get the First Watcher. That'd be kind of cool. Omega Comics is making a comment here about FF13 First Watcher Owatu. That'd definitely be kind of cool to get that one. And then, oh, thanks for checking GPA. GPA on this book on Fantastic Four 49 is somewhere between 550 and 650. Definitely a sweet deal. I did not Did not pay that, which is nice. Hulk 1.8 is like 6K. Oh, I thought it was more than that. I don't know why I thought Hulk graded 1.8 was actually more than 6K. Bro, cause of comics. See you, brother. Good night. Get some rest. I know it's definitely late for a lot of people here. I actually jumped online a lot later than I intended to, but I had a couple of personal things to get to. So, still three to. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Tech Kid is the Silver Surfer. I personally think Galacticus is actually a cooler character than Silver Surfer, but you know, it's all good. It's all good. Definitely happy to have this book in my collection. I'd love to get this one reholder. I think I can actually send it in and get it reholder for like 15 bucks, I think. But it would definitely look and present so much better in the new CGC case. This one is just that older, super flimsy case that you can kind of, get your fingers in the side of this thing. It's not a great case, but the new ones are super impressive and actually make the book look a lot better and present a lot better than this one. This one also wasn't well taken care of. There's like scuff marks and scratches across it. So a reholder, I think, is going to definitely be in order for this book. So maybe more. I'm not hurting the Hulk 1. Yeah. DS Comics. I hear you, brother. I hear you. I don't know why I just assumed it was a lot more than that. But again, just today, I talked to two guys that were selling some keys and pretty nice keys in order to, because I reached out to them. I'm like, I see you selling a lot of books. Like, what are you about to buy? Because I'm always curious about what people are doing and how they're going about doing it. And sure enough, both of these guys were dumping books in order to pick up Incredible Hulks. And I'm hoping that they're not hunting the same book. But one of the guys, I was actually talking with him, and he actually picked up Fantastic Four #1, I think 2 days ago. He was in the process of getting Amazing Spider-Man #1, so we were having a back and forth about that. And he found the book. The guy was holding the book for him. The day he got paid, the guy actually sold the book to someone else. Didn't tell him, but he found out that the guy sold the book for less than what he was about to buy it for. But this guy had saved up a nice amount of money to buy Amazing Spider-Man 1, and the guy actually sold it out from under him. And so he was not very happy about that. It was about 2 weeks ago. He was super, super upset about that, as you would imagine. And he ended up getting Fantastic Four #1 as a replacement for the Amazing Spider-Man. And what was interesting is he actually sent me a photo of the Amazing Spider-Man. It was nice. It was one of the cleaner 2.5s of Amazing Spider-Man that I've seen in a long time. And if you go to eBay right now, you can actually see, I think there's like 2 of them that are up there right now. And one of them has a chunk out of the corner, and another has a larger chunk, like the whole, the little logo up here, taken out. And then I think there's some stuff going down in the right hand corner, and both of them are selling for a significant amount of money. Don't look anywhere as nice as the one that he was picking up. So I think this dude was definitely disappointed that this guy decided to do that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see. I'm a Spider-Man fan, so for me, if I had to decide between the two, it would be a difficult decision. But I actually want Amazing Spider-Man #1 versus Fantastic Four. Now, with that said, I do want a Fantastic Four #1 because I think that cover has in that book has historical significance to the community and also to me as a collector. But because I'm such a big Spider-Man fan, that's why I would go with Spider-Man. Now, with that said, what's interesting is I actually did not buy Amazing Spider-Man when I had a chance. I instead chose to buy X-Men #1. And so when push comes to shove, who knows what I'll do. And I always like to give the analogy when people are like, where do you want to sit on the plane? And you're always like, I want to sit in the front on the plane. Well, in the front, we have a middle seat. But then you decide that you would sit further back on the plane if you can have an aisle seat. And so it's just that thing of what's most important to you. Is it really being in the front, or is it having an aisle seat, or is it some combination thereof? So, Paul, how you doing, brother? Spidey is king, but as far as Silver Age goes, Fantastic Four is tops. I respect that. I definitely respect that. I put Hulk 1 and Fantastic Four ahead of Amazing Spider-Man. Get that? X-Men number 1 was my favorite, was my first Silver Age. Marvel number 1. Yeah, so I think, it's one of those things, man, where I think everyone has their preferences about what speaks to them. And for me, Spider-Man is just one of the greatest books that I personally could own. And again, it's no slight on the other books. And in fact, I want all those books. It's just that, it comes down to the preference and the sequence of things. So I would say it would be awesome if we were all so fortunate to be able to buy the books that we want to buy, And so that is my wish for everybody, regardless of what your preference is. Let's all get those books and make ourselves happy with that acquisition. Whether it's X-Men number 1, Fantastic Four number 1, Hulk number 1, Amazing Spider-Man number 1, I say let's get them and share them with the community via one of these channels. So Gorilla was asking to see my man cave. Brother, I live in a small house in San Francisco. My man cave is this corner of the kitchen that I'm in right now. So no, truth is that we actually sold our house almost 3 weeks ago. Sold this house, bought another house, and we're actually going to be moving in. Probably taking possession next week and moving in about 2 weeks after that. But the new house is a larger house, and in that larger house I will have a man cave or a comic book cave or a comic book room, however you want to phrase it. That was like the commitment that the wife and I had, was that if we buy this house, I get my own section dedicated to comics, because right now my comics are split between the garage, my daughter's room, my son's room, and the hallway closet. And so it's not a mess, but it's kind of spread out. So sometimes when I want to do a video or jump on here and do a live thing, I can't necessarily do it at the right time because the family's still up, or the book that I want to show is in a room where a kid is asleep. But in the new house, we're going to have a setup and we'll be able to show what that looks like. I've actually in my head been kind of designing what I want the room to look like and how I'm going to set things up. So definitely excited about that. Tech One, where are you, brother? Showcase 4. Yeah, dead clone, brother. I'm a big fan, man, of just trying to be positive with all this stuff. I mean, it's comic books, and it's like we all have careers, we all have jobs, many of us have families. There's enough stress and all that stuff out there, man. I don't have time for that here. Like when we're talking about comic books, let's just have fun. At the end of the day, that's what this should be. It should be about each and every one of us being able to have the best collection that we can possibly get, and being happy for other people getting the books that they want, that make them happy. And I know that people sometimes will say, well, your way isn't my way, or what you collect I don't like, or what you said I took the wrong way. For me, it's all fun. It should be fun. It's not that serious. And my thing is to, never offend, or never to speak down to someone or make them feel bad for their personal choices or their approach, because I just don't believe that there's one way. I don't believe that there's one way to collect. I don't believe that there is one way to bag and board or to ship a comic or any of that other stuff. There is always more than one way, and it might be different from your way or different from the next person. You know what? That's cool. That's cool. You live near San Francisco. Very cool. Very cool. There's a couple of us in this area. One guy reached out to me via email trying to get some folks together. I think one of them was like Comic Book Brigade and the Comic Book Estate. I think those were like two of the guys that I've been going back and forth with. Technically 3, because I think Comic Book Brigade is like 2 guys. But I think they wanted to like get together and kind of hang out one day, go hunting at a comic book shop or something like that. So I don't know, man. We'll see. It's sometimes hard for me to get away, but if folks are getting together, I'll definitely try to make some things happen. Don't want to have any of you right now. How much have I missed? RB3, you have missed a lot, brother. You're going to have to watch the replay. Yeah, I think we all have a long list, man. You know, I think one of the things that I did and I talked about not doing was actually making a list for 2018. I ended up making a list and then I just went after that list quite aggressively and then realized that I was spending a lot of money and kind of backed up off of that plan. But there's still like half a year left. So DS Comics. Tony Sanders, how you doing, brother? Oh, Berkeley. I didn't know Berkeley had a Comic Con. August 4th? Maybe. Maybe. I didn't realize just how many, if you're not really into comics heavily, I think you miss all of the activity that happens around comics, right? And I didn't realize just how popular comics had become in terms of like all the cons, specifically in like San Francisco, because there's like the San Francisco, there's a Silicon Valley, there's the San Francisco, which is held in Oakland. There is the Fresno. There was one in Sacramento. There was one, and now you're telling me there's one in Berkeley. I mean, it's like it seems like they're fairly often. And again, if you're not in comic books, I don't know that you're paying attention and recognizing just how frequently cons actually happen. So Denzel Washington falling funny. I'm actually in the middle of watching Guardians of the Galaxy 1. It was on, I don't know, one of these channels, Sci-Fi or FX or something like that. So I'm actually sitting here watching it. It's kind of paused right now, but I'm going to get back to it here in just a moment. So RB3, brother, thank you for joining. Tony Sanders, thank you for joining as well. What I was doing was showing everyone here what just arrived in the mail. You guys missed the packing peanuts fiasco that happened when I unboxed this book, but I just picked this up off of a guy off of Instagram who reached out to me and made me a pretty good offer on the book. Definitely an amazing story by Stan Lee and some wonderful art by Jack Kirby, but just came in today and I've been waiting all day to break it out of the box so that I can share with you guys here this evening. So this is a book that I've had an opportunity to read. I read it a couple of months ago and was really blown away by the story arc. Not even sure if you can see that. My picture here is so distorted, it's not even funny. But it is a 7.5 cream to off-white pages in the old CGC case. So this is probably going to go back at some point and get reholdered, placed in a new slab because, and also maybe, I guess they can't press it because that wouldn't be allowed. But I think this book could definitely benefit from a press. Gorilla, yeah, brother, I hear you. Man, I'm always happy to have a conversation with people, man. I mean, I have people. What's cool though is with this community, more and more people are starting to reach out to me. I get a lot of messages on Instagram from folks just trying to have conversations about comics, and it's cool. I don't know, and I was actually thinking about recording a video on this. But I don't know how many of you guys grew up, but when I grew up, comic books weren't cool. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't talk about comics with really anybody because comics weren't cool. Comics were a nerd activity, and I was trying not to be a nerd, even though I probably was. And I didn't talk much about comics. My mother thought comics were a complete waste of money. Wasn't a huge fan of it, right? I mean, she supported me because I'm her son and stuff like that. But I know a lot of people's parents, would buy them comics or take them to cons and stuff like that. My mother really wasn't into that. And so I kind of grew up with this like stigma about comics. I didn't talk about them. Even now I struggle to talk about comic books with people in my real life. Not my wife, because she gets it. She doesn't care. She'll sit there and have a conversation with me. It's perfectly fine. But just like people generally. So when someone reaches out to me on Instagram or here, I'm all about it. Let's have the conversation. Let's talk about it because this is the opportunity for us, for at least for me, to verbalize some of my thoughts and some of my excitement about comics that I otherwise don't really have an outlet for. So I welcome it. I welcome the conversations. Reading a couple of these things here. Berkeley Con old school 12 dealer tables, all comics, $5 admission. Brother, Tech 31 Kid, yeah, I might have to be there for that one. That's not bad. Avengers 4, that's a sweet book. Yeah, I'm gonna write myself a note, Tech Kid. We should definitely hook up. I may try to get there. I should definitely try to get there. All right, cool. All right, guys. So thank you guys for joining me for my first unboxing. This was kind of cool. I've seen people do these things. I've never had an opportunity to do it. Mostly because when a book comes in, I'm always too excited and always end up opening the box before I could even set the camera up. But I decided not to be a kid on Christmas today and pop the box open as soon as it arrived. So I'm glad you guys could join me. I know that it's late for many of you on the East Coast, and it's getting a little late here for me on the West Coast, and I want to finish this Guardians of the Galaxy before it gets too late. So thank you guys for joining me. As always, I appreciate the exchange and the dialogue, and of course the views. If you haven't checked out the channel, I encourage you guys to subscribe and to check it out. I've got some cool videos coming out over the next 2 weeks or so. I've got some really cool stuff that I've already filmed and I'll be releasing. And then of course I've got a decent repository of great videos. So thank you guys for hanging out for a little while. And if you want to chat, just reach out to me on Instagram. I'm always around to chat. Take care.